Sitting on the porch, coffee in my hand, talking about life, faith in this land, from the woods to the world, truth don't lie. Welcome to Porch Talk, pull up and unwind.
Hey guys, welcome back. Hope you guys can hear me because I don't have the mic thing going. AC's in the background, so hopefully you guys can hear me pretty good. If not, I'll boost it up a bit. Porch Talk. We haven't done this for a while. I've got part of the porch cleared off. It's amazing how leaves will grow so fast when you're bedridden, so to speak, when you can't get out and walk and stuff. I'm still clearing stuff up, but it's getting done. Anyways, I thought I would talk about this new thing that's going on against Trump about the mail-in ballots. You know, that you need an ID. It amazes me how often we use an ID. You know, of course, when you get pulled over, you have to show your ID, unless you're the Karen or whatever the male version of Karen is. I'm a sovereign person. I don't believe in the government and whatnot. And you're going to sit there and argue with a cop for an hour and probably get arrested or whatever, when it's just as easy to give them an ID and move along. If you're nice and respectful, majority of the time they let you off with a warning. You know, it's always good to show respect to another human until you don't, until they show non-respect. You know, that's my belief. You know, these guys have it hard enough. You don't have to make it worse. You know, it's like McDonald's cashier or something. You know, you could be mean to the person and they could spit on your burger, or or be nice and respectful and, you know, make your day go smooth. Why make things harder? That's the thing with the ID thing. I don't understand it. To me, it's common sense. We want to know who people are. You know, we want to know who's voting. We want to know who's cashing a check. You could say, oh, the poor people can't do this. But I guarantee those poor people buy beer. They buy alcohol. They buy cigarettes. They need an ID for that. Oh, it's racist to ask for an ID. Why does race always have to come up in things like that? I don't understand it. Oh, there's Mailman. Makes no sense. It's simple. Give an ID. Boom, bam, you're done. Instead of wasting taxpayers' money. Oh, it's racist to ask for an ID. You know, all this stuff. You know, just give the ID and be done with it. Poor people can't get IDs. To make money, you need an ID. You know, you have to have an ID to get a job nowadays. You have to have a Social Security number. You know, to get the Social Security number, you need an ID. It's silly. When you're born, you get a birth certificate. Hey, that's an ID. Ooh. You know, if they give you an ID when you're born, why can't you be a responsible person to carry on that tradition to supply an ID? I don't understand how something so simple gets so, mixed up in the politics of stuff. And you get these morons on The View. I know Jeff loves that show and everything, and Whoopi Goldberg's his favorite, but the spew that comes out and the lies, it's just amazing that that's still on. But there's that, um, what is it, optimism bias? That is an actual thing. Optimism bias is something. It's thinking there is no positive way out of a situation. And I just come across this, and it's a big study that they did, in Texas somewhere in a college. The colleges always do these studies and stuff. But have you ever, and I've brought this up before, have you ever noticed that there's always somebody that is not prepared for something? That, some tornado, hurricane, earthquake, whatever, and they don't have any supplies. They don't have a flashlight. They don't have first aid. It doesn't even have to be an event. They could, cut their, or have a stove fire, and they run around like, oh no, what do we do? It's like, pick up a fire extinguisher. Oh, you don't have fire extinguishers because you're not prepared, and it's because they don't expect any outcome to be positive, so they don't prepare for that. But yet they're the person that calls and yells for help, and that's the problem right there. That is the problem. And there's ways of getting out of that. You'd be surprised how many people have this optimism bias. Look it up. Go do some research on it. It's amazing. And you'd be surprised how many people actually have this. So, and you see it in a lot of prepping situations where people should be preppers, and you would think that people who live out in the country and have animals and stuff, one family member has it and other family members prepare and stuff, or even spouses. Husband will prepare, and the wife doesn't, or vice versa. There's a lot of times, most of the time, it's the women who do a lot of the preparing. They put stuff back, they put money back for bad times for groceries and stuff. That's been going on for a long time. They'll put canned foods back, and they'll rotate stuff. Women are the better, they're better preppers than men. And this comes from a man, so, because they've been doing it for so long. It just makes sense. You go back in history, the women are the ones that were gathering eggs. They were doing the garden work, the personal garden. They're the ones who, when the man brought back the hunt, they're the ones that butchered it and, did all that stuff. The cat's going nuts over here, so I keep looking over there. But yeah, that's the amazing thing, is that you can have husband and wife. The husband goes out and works and does his thing and comes home, and the wife has, she buys a fire extinguisher and puts it, or a first aid kit. You know, she has all that stuff together. The man doesn't even think of any of that thing. All he thinks about is, you know, bringing home the bacon, so to speak, and coming home, opening a beer, and watching TV. Oh, whoop! Almost lost it. Whew. Almost went over the side. I wanted to keep it kind of close. That way you guys could hear me better. You can hear the birds chirping in the background, I hope. That I found out that mic that I was using, why it sounds weird is because it is a noise canceling mic. So like the mailman that just went by, it would cancel out that noise in the background, or the birds or stuff like that, and only concentrates on voice. I guess it's good. It just sounds weird. That doesn't sound like my voice. But back to our subject. About the ID thing. You know, again, you have to have an ID to go get cigarettes, unless you look like me and old and everything. You have to have an ID to show to get beer. You have to have IDs to cash a check. You have to have an ID to buy a car. You know, you have to have an ID to get a driver's license, which would be an ID. You have to have an ID to put plates on your car. You could keep going down the list of things you need an ID for. At this day and time, if you don't have an ID, how are you surviving in the day-to-day? You know what I mean? And most places like YouTube, you need an ID. You need to submit an ID so you verify who you are. And I don't think it's a big idea, a big deal to show an ID to vote. You know, do the online voting or whatever. You should show an ID. It's weird not to, you know. It seems more strange not to show an ID than it would be to show an ID, if that makes sense. But I want to get you guys' opinion, and I want to know. And it's kind of hard because, you know, if there's people out there that think it is racist, or it's you know, against the poor people, I guess. I don't know what that would be. Against poverty, or I don't know. Can you be racist against poor people? I don't know. And I would consider me being on the poverty side, since I'm on disability. Barely get by every month, but that's living, you know. I don't know. I have an ID. I had to get my ID renewed April. Had to get plates, had to get driver's license renewed, which sucked. And again, I had to show my ID. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. I don't know. It just, I don't understand it. You know, I really don't. You know, you need it to cash a check if you work, even though majority of that stuff is digitally put in your bank account. But to get that bank account, you need a ID to start a bank account. So it would make sense. Hey, let's get an ID. I don't know. Anyways, I'm gonna let you guys go. Train's going off, and we will see you on the next one. Like always, God bless.